I saw this on Coinmetrics, David. I thought this was super interesting. This is actually Google searches for Bitcoin, keyword Bitcoin, Google searches for keyword Ether, Ethereum, actually. And so what's really interesting is during this sort of bull cycle 2021, did you know Bitcoin in Google Trends did not actually hit its all-time high search? You can see it in
Hmm.
this graph here. It hit
Hmm.
all-time high search in 2018, the last bull
Oh.
cycle, which is interesting. It's down, of course, from the all-time high. So the all-time high was probably like April, May or
Hmm.
so, for not the all-time high, but the local high for the Bitcoin search in Google Trends. That just means people are searching Bitcoin as a keyword. Like there's
Right.
buzz about it
Hmm.
and it's going
Right.
into Google search. What's interesting about Ethereum is all-time high was actually
Wow.
this bull market
Wow.
cycle. See the
Wow.
difference?
That's
Yeah,
like
so
twice as high as it was in 2017.
twice as high, which is interesting. Now it's of
Mhm.
course way down
Sure.
because people stopped searching, I guess, NFTs, SNL,
Hmm.
Ethereum, whatever they were searching. But the fact that it got much higher,
Hmm.
sort of the conclusion from Coinmetrics is, well, does that indicate that Ethereum has been more driven by retail this
Mm.
cycle, whereas Bitcoin has been more driven by institutions this cycle? Of course,
Mm.
institutions don't have to Google Bitcoin. There's fewer of
Right.
them. They just have lots of money to pour
Right.
into it. I
Hmm.
thought that was a really interesting takeaway. And I was actually surprised that Ethereum far exceeded
Hmm.
its last all-time high in Google Trends in this bull cycle.
Well, see,
Eyes caught this tweet from Token Terminal. This is about Uniswap's past year. Okay, we talk about the birth of a new capital asset, something that has discounted cash flows that Wall Street can even value. Trading volume for Uniswap over the past year, 273 billion in trading volume with a
casual.
B. Little
Casual.
tiny protocol,
Hmm.
15 people,
Hmm.
$273 billion.
Unicorn
How
logo.
much? Unicorn logo, like weird, like
Weird vibes.
simple interface. Like, yeah, definitely not Wall Street, definitely not like banker,
Right.
friendly, I guess. LP revenue, 812 million. That's how much liquidity providers made in this protocol.
Hmm.
Uniswap revenue, 130 million, 16% of LP revenue. The costs for Uniswap, just 10 million in grants. Uniswap earnings, then, if you do the math there, 10 million minus 130 million, 120 million. What is the fully diluted market cap right now? About 12 billion. So what does that make the price to earnings ratio? 102. 102 price to earnings ratio. If you benchmark that with other exchanges, traditional exchanges, you've got CME Group that has a PE ratio of 40. You've got the ICE exchange, which is 30. You've got CBOE, which is 27. You got NASDAQ, that's 28.
Hmm.
Super interesting that Uniswap is being priced at a premium, but
Hmm.
not at an excessive price to earnings premium to these legacy exchanges that are barely growing,
Hmm.
right? And you've got Uniswap, which is just crushing it in terms of growth. So also, I would argue like a fair market value based on price to earnings ratio,
Hmm.
maybe undervalued.
Hmm.
Anyway, things. SushiSwap is
Hmm.
releasing things. Trident. I think they released this at ETHCC. So were you there
Right.
for the announcement? Do you see this? What is this thing? What is the buzz?
Yeah, I followed up with Joseph DeLong, who was the person that announced this at ECC, and so this is actually a one of the reasons why SushiSwap was always different from Uniswap to begin with is that SushiSwap is not Uniswap. It's not just a fork of Uniswap v2. It is a DAO that it can do anything it wants to do. So it doesn't have to follow the progression of Uniswap. It can take its own path. And so what Sushi has done is they have built out a suite of new products that are completely independent from the original, fork of Uniswap v2. And so they have these concentrated liquidity pools, which is kind of what Uniswap v3 is doing, but they also have weighted pools, which is kind of like what Balancer's doing. And they got hybrid pools, which is kind of what Curve is doing that is specifically good for trading like-kind assets. They also have this bento box application. And so what applications can do is they can build on top of SushiSwap, and they can deposit assets into SushiSwap, And then SushiSwap will credit those applications with those deposits, but then it goes and gets yield in DeFi with those assets while they are also getting liquidity in the AMM. Cool. And so it's just a collection of a bunch of the really cool products that we've all been using, but now it's all collapsed and condensed into the SushiSwap protocol. So really, really bullish for Sushi. That's a really cool step into a brand new direction. And it's always just one of the if you buy and are bullish on Sushi token, you're really bullish on their ability to build and ship new products, which they have been proven out to do.
Let's talk about this. So Yearn continues to ship. This looks super interesting, David. What are we looking at? Something that assesses the risk of various Yearn vaults?
Right. So Yearn vault, so I have all these various different strategies, and there's different assets and there's different applications for every single vault. And so what Yearn has shipped is like a risk management or risk disclaimer, I guess. What's the right way to describe this?
It's just like transparency, right?
Risk exposure, yeah, risk transparency, risk exposure, and so it tells you for every single vault what the exposure to specific DeFi apps is, and so as different strategies get built out and deployed to Yearn, it'll tell you like this strategy is like 55% dependent on Compound and 32% dependent on SushiSwap, and so it's a great way to just actually transparently look at the risks that you are taking on when you use Yearn. And this is something that you can only do in DeFi. You can only do something that you can query the Ethereum blockchain and get all of the data you need. And so this is like basically a live update system because we have all the data at our fingertips. And so it's like risk in the moment that you need to know it. So that's pretty cool.
All right, let's talk about this. This is kind of a paradigm shift, I think. Grayscale, which of course they have the Ether E Grayscale Trust that you can buy inside of a brokerage if they're in the US in a retirement account. They also have a Bitcoin Trust product. They have just launched a DeFi Trust product, David. So now institutions who maybe for whatever reason can't hold DeFi assets and custody those DeFi assets, or if you're looking for to buy DeFi in a brokerage account, you don't want to go the self-directed IRA route, which we recommend, by the way, and custody it yourself. You can actually just buy this product inside of your brokerage account. Now, there's fees associated with it, but I'm pretty impressed by the index and its weightings, right? We've got UniSwap, we've got Aave, we've got Compound. This is sort of it looks like some sort of market-sized index of the top maybe 10 or so DeFi assets. So it's cool that this is now becoming available.
The other interesting thing about this is that this is a partnership between Grayscale and CoinDesk. So Grayscale made the index, and CoinDesk Grayscale holds the assets, and CoinDesk is doing the portfolio like management and indices. That's exactly what Index Co-op is doing, but on DeFi, and that's what Bankless DAO did with Index Co-op, right? And so Bankless or DeFi Pulse is also doing it. Like the Index Co-op model is like, hey, we'll actually do the infrastructure, but you guys make the index and then you guys market it, right? And so that's what DeFi Pulse did. So they partnered with Index Co-op to make the DPI, and then this is the same thing, but in legacy finance, which was actually kind of cool, but also. What's cooler is doing it in DeFi.
This is cool, David. OKX is an exchange, fairly large exchange. They now support Polygon mainnet deposits and withdrawals. David, we said this was going to happen. It's happening with Polygon, a side chain. It's going to happen with rollups, layer twos. These are additional fiat to rollup, fiat to layer two bridges that are starting to come online, starting with Polygon. I love it. Super exciting to see this happen. OKX, not an exchange that I've ever used personally. I know it has a lot of users, but like it's just a harbinger of all of the other exchanges that are going to flood into providing this fiat gateway directly to layer two. Super cool.
So the metaphor that we always use is that DeFi and Ethereum L1 is the Manhattan. And now with Polygon and the other layer twos, those are like the suburbs. And so, you fly into New York and you have to take the cars out to the suburbs because, in the Ethereum metaphor, there's only Manhattan. There's nothing else in the world exists. But now this is like we have a new airport that's dedicated out for the suburbs. So when you fly into the world of crypto and you're coming from your centralized exchanges to get over the hump into the crypto world, you actually now have the option to not actually land in Manhattan, and you can go in straight and land in the suburbs. And so that's the metaphor there.
You can land in the suburbs, you can live there, you can shop there, you can
Yeah.
do all of your commerce there. If you want to pay the extra Uber ride and get
Right.
to Manhattan, you can, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Manhattan is
Super cool.
now optional.
Massive. OpenSea NFT marketplace just secured 100 million in their Series B.
Insane.
That's around valued at 1.5 billion. This is like the first NFT marketplace unicorn that I've seen. Incredible valuation. OpenSea's been crushing it, so well deserved. Also, wow, like $1 billion valuations for Ethereum applications, essentially. Not just layer one chains, which is what we saw more in 2017, 2018. That's a shift too. So apparently, did you see the conversation that Elon Musk had with Kathy Wood? I think Jack Dorsey was there too.
Right. Yeah. Was it a Twitter event? Was that the deal? I wasn't there. Yeah.
I'm not sure. It was the B Word conference. I missed it, but I saw some of the headlines. I think one of the major headlines was Elon actually came out and said the crypto assets that he owns. So outside of his company stock, Tesla and SpaceX, he said he owns just 3 crypto assets. And those are Bitcoin, no surprise, Dogecoin, no surprise, and Ether. Surprise. I was surprised by that.
I was not really surprised. Like, he's tweeted about Ethereum before, but yeah, everyone
Yes.
was looking for confirmation that Elon Musk does indeed own Ether. He's never actually stated it before.
Now, he did say he has much more Bitcoin than Ether or Doge, which is also probably not a surprise. So this made waves, I guess. I mean, people like to know what Elon owns and like to ape into those investments. I think they also talked about a number of other things. Bitcoin as a base layer of the monetary system. Elon says it can't be by itself a base layer for the world monetary system, but it could be on a layer 2, depending on how it's implemented. They talked about some energy production, proof of work sort of thing. I'm going to go catch up on that conversation. Sounds like that was at least interesting. Any other thoughts here?
Yeah, it's always interesting to see what Elon has to say. I'm kind of worried that like Bitcoiners are like hopping right back into like Elon's in our
billionaire worship.
We like Elon again because now he's saying good things instead of bad things, and so
yes,
I think we learned our lesson. He's just a guy. He's just a guy.
This is cool. MakerDAO has come full circle. That's the post headline. You know more about this. You're actually with the team this week. What's happening with MakerDAO?
Yeah, so the MakerDAO Foundation is finally dissolving, and this has been on the roadmap for forever, and Maker has been very much a move slowly and cautiously kind of vibe. That's their deal. And so the foundation is finally dissolving. The foundation has spun out into what they are calling core groups, and so the DAO is being a DAO, right? And so people are taking the leadership of different sort of like micro DAOs, and this is how sophisticated Maker is. And people really just underappreciate Maker and what it's done. MakerDAO is now a DAO of micro DAOs. And so there's different core groups, which are like the DAOs, like little DAOs inside of the overall bigger MakerDAO. And each one is taking on certain responsibilities and roles.
All right, back to regulation and TradFi. Mastercard is using Circle, that's USDC, for a settlement pilot. So this is payment networks like credit card companies. We've already heard Visa doing a lot in this space, starting to use stablecoins. Good sign for adoption.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about with Jerome Powell, who said that cryptocurrencies have completely failed as a settlement network. Well, Mastercard, which is literally a payments company, is experimenting with USDC for a pilot. And so watch what people are doing, not what regulators are saying. Like, see what's actually what's actually happening in the real world. And in the real world, Mastercard and USDC are moving closer and closer together.